Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of these end times. It's been a couple of weeks since my last program, and I have been waiting for Pope Benedict to be forced out of the Vatican. And on that program, I'm sure you will remember, I read a message from Mara Stella Jesu, a seer here in the United States, and she predicted that Pope Benedict would be forced out on March the 3rd. And that did not happen, much to the consternation of many of you in my audience, even though it's a good thing that he was not forced out. And I keep having to remind you people that Mara Stella Jesu mentioned two caveats at the beginning of her message, and that was that those prophecies were not written in stone. But it's hard for me to convince you of that fact. In any event, Pope Benedict has not been forced out, but they really want him out. And when I say they, I mean the one world government, the one world religion. And you can tell your friends by who they hate. And they hate Donald Trump most of all. And they also hate Pope Benedict and the other Ben, Benjamin Netanyahu. They are trying to force him out also. And I'll let you in on my little secret, and I've mentioned this before. I think the two Bens, Benjamin Netanyahu and Pope Benedict, are the two E's, and that is Enoch and Elijah. And according to that Jewish teenager Natan, Enoch and Elijah, now he just mentioned Elijah, and he called him the Mashiach, but that's who he was referring to. He says that they themselves do not know their own identity, and I believe that. I don't believe they will know who they are until they resurrect from their assassination in Jerusalem. And that's why I think Pope Benedict will be forced out. I think he will be martyred in Jerusalem. And they are already degrading him in Rome. It's really something terrible. Now let me show you this sculpture that they just recently put out. And this was shown in the news, a couple of weeks ago. Notice how they are degrading him by showing him without his papal garments. In other words, they don't want you to realize that Pope Benedict is the true Pope and Pope Francis is the false prophet. They don't want you to know that. And they are beginning to realize they have to get rid of Pope Benedict because we have never in the Catholic Church had two popes living in the Vatican at the same time. This is unique in all of history. And the reason the Lord is allowing this is to show that there is a true Pope, Pope Benedict, and a false Pope, Pope Francis. And all Catholics, in fact, all Christians are going to have to learn the difference. Now, another event this past week was that the Vatican tried to say that Pope Benedict really supports Pope Francis. And they issued this photograph which showed a letter from Pope Benedict supposedly supporting Pope Francis. And it got a lot of attention in the media, naturally. The media is controlled by Satan. But then it was revealed that they blurred the last two lines in this photograph. They didn't want you to read the rest of the letter. In fact, this story made Laura Ingram because it is very important. And they are going to have to force Benedict out, just as Mara Stella Jesu is prophesying. Now, I want to read some of this article. It was on LifeSite News. And here's the headline. And you can see that. And it says, breaking, Vatican admits leaving out another key paragraph, from Benedict's letter on Francis. So let me read some of this for you, because this is really interesting. And the dateline of this is the Vatican, March 17th, that's yesterday, LifeSite News. The Vatican's Secretariat for Communication today has issued a statement on the Vigano Benedict Lettergate, they call it Lettergate, controversy, confirming reports that a second significant paragraph of Pope Emeritus Benedict's 16th letter to the head of Vatican Communications, Monsignor Dario Vignano, was left out during the presentation of a new 11-booklet series on the theology of Pope Francis. The missing paragraph reveals Benedict's surprise that a German theologian known for spearheading anti-papal efforts against himself and Pope John Paul II, especially on issues of moral theology, was featured as a contributor in the 11-volume series titled The Theology of Pope Francis. And let me read what Pope Benedict actually wrote. I guess they gave him this 11-volume set, and he was supposed to review it. And he never did read it, and he tells them he didn't. But they try to make you think that Pope Benedict was endorsing Pope Francis. What a lot of baloney coming out of the Vatican these days. And that's because Bible prophecy is being fulfilled. In Revelation 11, verse 2, where the holy city is trampled underfoot by the Gentiles for 42 months. And the holy city, which is the Vatican, is being trampled under by the Gentiles. And here's what Pope Benedict actually wrote. Dear Reverend Monsignor, thank you for your kind letter of January 12th and for the attached gift of the 11 small volumes edited by Roberto Ripoll. I applaud this initiative, which is intended to oppose and react to the foolish prejudice that Pope Francis is only a practical man, without special theological or philosophical training, while I have been only a theorist of theology, with little understanding of the concrete life of a Christian today. The small volume demonstrate rightly that Pope Francis is a man of deep philosophical and theological formation, and they therefore help to show the interior continuity between the two pontificates, although with all the differences of style and temperament. So that is the only 2 sentences that was revealed to the public, because it was praising Pope Francis. But now this whole rest of his letter was censored by the Vatican. In fact, they blurred out the last 2 lines in that photograph which was released, and they totally left out the second page, which I am going to read to you now. However, this is Pope Benedict speaking. I do not feel I can write a brief and dense theological page on them, because throughout my entire life it has always been clear that I would write and express myself only on books that I had also truly read. Unfortunately, also for physical reasons alone, I am unable to read the 11 little volumes in the near future, all the more so other commitments that I have already undertaken awaken me. Only as a footnote, I wish to note my surprise over the fact that Professor Hunerman, who during my pontificate distinguished himself for spearheading anti-papal efforts, is also featured among the authors. He was a key figure in the release of Kölner Erklärung, which in relation to the encyclical Veritatis Splendor, virulently attacked the Pope's magisterial authority, especially on issues of moral theology. Additionally, the Europäische Theologen Gesellschaft, which he founded, was initially conceived by him as an organization in opposition to the papal magisterium. I am sure you will understand my refusal, and I offer you cordial greetings. So as I say, you really can't trust anything coming out of the Vatican these days. The Vatican is being trampled under by the Gentiles as prophesied by John in the book of Revelation. And now I want to show you a stamp which has been published by the Vatican. And this is for this year. And this has been called Gymnasium Jesus, because it looks like Jesus, I guess it's his resurrection or his ascension, and it's supposed to show him in good physical condition, as if he goes to the gym 3 times a week. But what's interesting to me is this little demon face down here at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe if I tilt it just a little bit. Am I tilting? Oh, I'm here. There you go. How's that? Can you see the demon face? I think it's fairly clear. You can see the demon's eye. You can see the demon's nostril. You can see the demon's mouth. There's a close-up. I think you can see what I'm talking about. It's kind of like a mask. It's obviously demonic. Well, that's the kind of thing coming out of the Vatican these days. They're not telling you the truth. And remember, in Bible prophecy, in Isaiah and Micah, the remnant Catholic Church is going to have to flee the Roman Catholic Church. That's our fate as the remnant Catholics in these end times. Satan has taken over the throne of Peter. And since my last video, I want to thank very much you who have contributed, especially to my book project. And I really do appreciate all the help you are giving me. I really do need help with this project. I have completed 250 pages. It's going to take about 5 times that much to get everything done. So I want to thank Kyle N., Hey C., I think that's how you pronounce his name, Kim S., Mark G., Mark W., and Rosemary B. So thanks very much to all of you. And if any of you could help me out, simply hit the PayPal button either on my YouTube channel or on my thirdeaglemedia.com website.